But I want to see if there's any technique out there that
you know on the one that I tried, the silent treatment.
Oh, I told my PO that today.
You gotta stall. Just stare at them and just stay there and just quiet and see who cracks first.
I told my PO today. I told the PO today because the PO, I did a one-on-one. I did my regular one-on-one with all of them, and most of them were like, "Hey, I want to see how to get. I want to get more jobs done. I want to learn how to do other. I want to gain or I want to develop other form of skills." The kind of team I work with, they don't develop software. We're actually implementing Scrum into an infrastructure team that builds out different kind of things that does. So they keep complaining, I want to do this, I want to learn this, I want to learn this. And when the PO asks, hey, I have this for you guys, who wants to take it? It's always the same set of people saying yes. And I told him, look, this time around, don't ask them, just assign it to anybody. Give it to them.
Okay, I'm going to tag that just for a second. Okay, just because I want to make sure we get a vote going, because that's a great topic to hit.
Oh, that's true. I already was putting a little sticky next to that one based on the
You put Elmo? Did you put Elmo? Anybody knows Elmo? Oh, we all wear Elmo. Tom, you'll wear Elmo.
Yeah, enough. Time to move on, baby.
All right, let's go. So we got a lot of topics here. Regina, how did you want to do this?
So let's vote. Let's vote, guys. I guess the question is on the beginners. Let's see, we got, so if you guys know the Jamboard, you can go to the pen. Neilu, if you can hover on top of the pen, if you're sharing, and you can put a little stick next to the ones that you guys like. And so maybe we'll have each person vote for 3, like your top 3 favorite. If we have time, we're probably gonna go over all of them, but at least so we can get some sort of order. So if you guys can put like a little stick next to the one that you like, you can see the little pen there.
Somebody put it in white. Whoa. You can't even see it.
Yeah, you gotta pick the color. So
can you please repeat what you said, Regina?
So we're gonna vote for your top 3 that you'd like to talk about first, right? Because we're probably gonna have the opportunity to talk about many of these. So just put one little stick, use the pen. I would use red or I would use black. So that way you could see it a little bit more. It's the pen on the left-hand side right there, the first icon on the toolbar, and put a little check mark, or put like a little check mark, and then we'll do some quick counts.
All right, so we could either put a check like a dot or like a check mark on it. Am I correct?
Yeah, like a little check mark, and you'll see there's some already happening here.
All right, thank you. Okay, then let me go ahead and do that.
Hey, Victoria, can you help me vote? I'm using I can't log in.
Always.
Yeah, can you go grab me some food too while you're at it? What is this?
I'll just say bless your heart.
Bless your heart. Oh, I love that.
I like my steak if you want to.
Victoria, you're supposed to be my friend.
I am.
God.
I'm always there, Godwin. You either need to fix your hair, a sticky to be added there. I'm your girl. All right.
Just vote for me as your mind leads you to.
Do you want me to choose for you? Do I get extra votes now?
AJ, use your Chrome to market.
Oh, I like that. I feel like I have extra power now. I love that. But with great power comes great responsibility. I'm not gonna.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that person is a Spider-Man fan.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think you're putting on
Iron Will.
I missed how many votes we have.
Yeah, exactly. I think you guys are going overboard. Some of you guys are probably voting more than 3. I don't know.
But we have 3.
Yeah, I don't know about that. There's a lot of votes out there. Let's see. And somebody keeps voting.
I only did 3.
Maybe people just have very similar check marks, right?
Okay, it looks like you could start already with one of them. Regina, what makes a good product owner?
Let's see. All right. You guys, that one has a lot, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
All right. Who would like to start with some tips and tricks? Or actually, if the person who wrote that sticky, if you feel comfortable to sort of provide more insights on your question. Let's start out with that. Go ahead.
I will provide a little insight. I am probably, one of the more agile people in my company, and definitely one of the most agile kind of background person on my team. And the customer wants agile, and I am I'm in a technical role where I need to be doing technical architecture and stuff. It would be a conflict of interest probably if I were trying to do product management or product ownership, I should say. And so the program manager comes to me and says, what should we do? What should we do about the product manager? And I wanted, I thought that the most senior expert person, the person who understands the problem the best, ought to be the product owner. The person who I don't know if I've got any good options really, but I just thought maybe having a good discussion about, hey, so your boss comes to you and says, hey, what should we do about the product owner? What's a good criteria to consider if you're thinking about people, or a thing to look out for? I thought we could have a good discussion about that.
I like it.
Let me ask you a couple of questions. So are you inside an internal Agile team? Or are you customer facing, that your team is got a client outside? Or are you internal? Just to understand.
There is an outside client, and yeah, that's another possibility, is if the client themselves should be the product owner. But I kind of don't think that, but if somebody wants to talk me into it.
So but you're internal, you're an internal Agile team, and your role is more on the architecture side, right? And your team does not have a product owner. You do not have an identified product owner.
Well, we're forming a team for a new product,
okay,
and we're trying to identify the product owner. Yeah.
Okay. So, and this product is on the business side or on the technology side?
Technology. It's a product for a client. So maybe I misspoke. Maybe we should call it an outside team. I'm not sure.
Okay. So the product owner, typically, okay, let me just start from the business perspective, right? If this was an Agile team that was servicing a business part of the organization, and the request for the product and the knowledge of the scope of the project, of the product, etc., if that knowledge was on that business side, then what we typically do is we speak to senior leadership and we say, we need a product owner who is the SME of that product, of what that team is trying to build. And typically when you have the technology team and you have that business product being built, we go over to the business side and we say, hey, we need a product owner. And so the same thing, if my product is technical, right, then I need a product manager, right, or product, whoever owns that product, that's the SME that has the knowledge on the product, the specifications on the product, and the what and the functionalities that you're building, whether it's something technical, whether it's something from the business. So sometimes it's not so much a title, is a role, and the person that has the knowledge, right, to make the decisions. Oh my goodness, I see Tom raising his hand. Okay.
That's a hand.
Go for it, Tom.
That's a hand.
Great.
So sorry, Rick.
Right.
So the question is, and I hear where you're going with that, Regina. It's how do you keep so that's my choke point. It's the max. I only have so many people, right? And when you pick a product owner, they have to have all these criteria. And not only that, sometimes the product owner is the one that handles that backlog, right? So how do you scale that? Because you have one person or two people maybe that know the products and inside and out. That's where I get stuck.
Yeah.
Good one. Now you said that they typically handle the backlog in an ideal situation, right? In an ideal situation. So, and then I'll let some other ones speak there. I think Stormy, you got your hand up? Stormy had her hand up.
I think she's having some internet connection issues.
John, I think John, you had your hand up.
He's
Yes, I had my hand up. Well, I considered like the position of the product owner is the most difficult role to set in a team.
Yeah.
As I had so many projects where it actually failed to set the product owner, as we had somebody who was not motivated enough, somebody who doesn't have had enough knowledge, or was just too busy to do it. That I actually thought about it. Even the Scrum Guide since 2020 got in the direction that the team has more responsibility in gathering requirements. And you could also choose a setup where you run the concept, we own the product and everybody is responsible.
Mm.
I did some setups which came to the direction, but not in real product development. But I think it's an interesting approach. What you need for that is developers which are actually willing and able to get into business and to know about it. At a lot of teams, I have developers which do not want to care about business.
You want your developers to care about business anyway, though. I mean, to have meaningful work and solve problems, if they don't care about the problem they're solving, they're not going to give good solutions. Like,
yeah,
not to oversimplify it, just.
So I want to pause a second. So I see Stormy's back. I don't know if her internet's back on. Stormy, you there?
I'm here. I was so excited that I accidentally ended the call instead of unclicking mute. I was like, ah.
Bless your heart.
So I have a little bit of a different take, slightly. And of course, all of us come to this with our own experience, right? And different perspectives given the organizations and the culture that we've worked with, right? So there's no 100% right or wrong answer here, right? So there isn't a prescription or a checklist that we can follow. But what I would like to say is, as a product owner who consults, or actually more contracting now, actually, but and considers myself middle of the road. I have about 3 years of experience, so I'm definitely not an expert by any means. We have people in this business 20 years, right? But I'm beyond, I think, just, green at this point. When we say product management, first of all, I want to say the differentiation between product management and product ownership, from my perspective, is really that delineation between business and developers, where, from my perspective and experience, the product manager, which from my understanding comes from actually the SAFe framework, is the person that is really responsible for that overall vision and roadmap, very high level. They are working with the stakeholders, usually internal stakeholders, and the customers, the people who are paying the company, right? Depending on how your company's set up, right? Not necessarily the users. Now, they can be involved with the users, right? But they're working for marketing and sales and leadership, and really understanding then also the customers and creating that overall arching roadmap and long-term vision, right? The product owner, which is what I typically do, is far more engaged, and in the best scenarios actually is as it should be from the Scrum Guide, if you're practicing Scrum, literally a part of the Scrum team, an equal voice along with the Scrum Master and each and every developer, right? An equal voice, we're a team together. So those are the differentiations. So the product manager hands over that large vision. Product owner works collaboratively with an equal voice Scrum Master, every developer on that team, to now break those out into manageable chunks. And this is from a Scrum framework perspective. It can also work with Kanban or Scrumban or whatever you want to call it, right? So that's the first point I would like to make. But the other thing I wanted to say that is from the product owner perspective, what I have found, particularly as I've partaken so much more in these, had the opportunity to take so much more in some of these sessions and even listening to podcasts and things, wow, are the POs villainized. And I am seeing that as a very consistent, is very consistent. And I think that my hypothesis here is that these product owners who become kind of the villains are the ones that are coming in and almost scolding the team, saying, you're not delivering enough, or I want this, and telling the team exactly what they need to do, increase your velocity, give me more features, I want it by this date. I've never worked in that manner. I work absolutely collaboratively with my development team and rely on them 100% to tell me what they can do and how much time, collaboratively with user experience team, or if they don't happen to be integrated into the team, and also enterprise architecture if they don't happen to be integrated into the team. Now, caveat to that, my background isn't in development. So it is not difficult for me to stay out of the how, because I don't have any freaking clue how to do it. So I absolutely have my number one priority is to work with the end user. Okay, I will work very collaboratively with the product, with the product manager if there is one. I also may actually have one foot in each side of that realm if need be, and depending on the organization of the culture, or excuse me, of the company and their size. But because I'm a registered nurse, I work with healthcare applications, software applications specifically. I don't ever have to worry about delving into the how, because I don't need to. So that allows me to really step back and empower my team and rely on them 100% to tell me how. So those are some of the things that I wanted to bring up that I have found work for me very well, actually. And some of the added patterns I've seen is those, project manager that was renamed as a product owner. So they're coming from that mindset of red, yellow, green. Oh my, we need it, we need it by this date and this time. And, so that doesn't work from a product owner perspective. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Stormy. I think we got Pedro with his hand up as well. Pedro?
Yeah, I just wanted to agree totally with Stormy. She's absolutely right. And I just wanted to add that the product owners or product manager, if you're looking to save, they're describing to the team why we do things and why the customer wants a product and what that product is. And like you said, give that vision. So you want somebody who's able to communicate in that way, be able to sum up what the customer needs are, and what they want and why they want, but at the same time, stay away of how that's going to be done. That's up to the team. So that's all I just wanted to add.
Awesome. And so we added some stickies here for you, Nathan. I guess some of the characteristics, right, that we're showing is they need to be somebody who can make decisions, subject matter expertise in the product, right, that's being prioritized for the team. I put available and accountable, right, definitely available for the team. So if you're looking for who's the right person in your organization, it's got to be somebody who's available to actually come to Scrum meetings. Some of the other items here, and I think Nelu, if you make this a little bit bigger, like I provide priorities, right? They provide the what, and there was another one here that I can't see very well. I missed it. Provide priorities, Okay, scroll down. Awesome. Communicate the vision. They have to be able to communicate the vision. And if you scroll down a little bit more, the backlog owner, they are the owner. Are they necessarily the ones that are always writing the user story? That depends. We do know of product owners that don't always have the skill or the time. Like, let's say they're 50% time with the team, but they're also 50% time in their business and working with the stakeholders. But sometimes you have like an analyst, like a business analyst that helps write the user stories, but that product owner is there and they're like this, and the product owner takes that business analyst all to their meetings as well, and they teach that analyst, you know, about the requirements and about the products so that they can work together, and then they can pair up in writing the user stories. Does that help? Does that help you think of the right people in your organization, maybe that might fit into these options?
Kind of. I mean, it explains the problem, the challenges, and I don't know if it makes it really clear. But,
all right, I'm gonna one more thing here. You need leadership buy-in or executive buy-in to get the right product owner that's needed for a team. If you don't have that, nobody will be available for you. Okay. So executive buy-in, leadership, when we go look for product owners, we go to leadership and we say we need a product owner. And these are the reasons why. And this is what we've seen has been the benefit of having that role in an Agile team, because if you don't, that team is not going to have priorities. They're not going to know the what to work on, right? And then that constant availability. So you need executive buy-in. Just going to add that there. Maybe that helps. And maybe you're like, that's what we don't have. I don't know.
If I can add to that, so 100% agree. The biggest failures and any patterns I see is when you do not have an understanding and a buy-in from the executive leadership team. And they are measuring according to story points and velocity rather than actually outcomes, right? So I think it's the product owner's responsibility, from my perspective, to set those expectations for and actually advocate for their team to the executive leadership team and protect them. The other thing I would say is I empower my team. Again, I'm not technical. They're the ones that understand the infrastructure, and I come to them literally with the user story from the user perspective. They're the ones that I would expect during our our refinement session to think about the dependencies and add the acceptance criteria that are very technical, and potentially then split out different stories and during that refinement session. Those are not skills that I have. So I look at myself as an advocate for my team, that umbrella for my team to protect them, and a member of my team, which I find oftentimes that the product owner is this outside person that is not integrated into or even accepted into the development team. And I find that very sad.
Yeah, I got to say, Stormy, I really appreciate your perspective there. The impression that I have, having worked on a lot of different types of teams, is that you probably have a really good technical team, because otherwise you have so much trust in them. And my impression just from out hearing you talk about it is that they've probably earned it. So pat them on the back if you get the chance, and let them know that they're special, because it's hard to find good teams like that.
Every time I can.
Go ahead. Yeah. Also the like the
so what I would
villainized
say
PO.
is more important than that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say more important than that was the leadership team that empowers and pushes down and allows us to truly self-organize and allows us to make those decisions. That's what allows our team to grow. So more important than the strong team, they can start out weak, but they will become strong once they are comfortable. The psychological safety has been developed, they have the trust, and we then, within 3 months, we're developing and literally showing working software every 2 weeks.
All right, guys, great job, great job. So we do need to time box and move to the next topic because we got a lot of questions here. Nathan, please, guys, feel free to continue to add any notes on the chat for Nathan regarding that. I hope that helped a little bit. Do we have a thumbs up? This way, this way. There, okay, all right, awesome. So what's the next one? What is the next question that you guys would like to look at? And Nelu, if you might need to now backtrack a little bit so that we can see what's the next one. What does that look like? Tom, which one? What do you think?
Upper left, maybe.
Upper left, process for forming Scrum teams when you actually have the choice to do so. Nice. Who wrote that one? Do you want to share a little bit about your question? Anybody who wants to share?
Hold on, that was me. Sorry.
Who was that? I'm sorry.
Sharon W.
Oh, Sharon. So tell us a little bit about your question.
Well, the question is based on, my readings from studying Scrum. When I was working in Agile Scrum, the teams were already formed for us. So I was just wanting to hear from individuals who, from the very beginning, going by the book of Agile, having your vision statement, product owner named, and then the Scrum team formed. What did you do? And what's the process for forming your Scrum, your Scrum team?
Okay, that's a great question. So from the Agile transformation perspective, when we first go into organizations that want to go Agile, right? Usually somebody from the leadership area, it could be from the business, it could be from IT, it could be from the C-levels. They're like, hey, we want to try this Agile thing, right? They don't know what it is. Nobody's done it. Or sometimes there's pockets of Agile in the different areas. And so what we normally do is to say, okay, you guys want to try this. They may not be ready to go fully Agile, but they might be willing to do a couple of pilot teams. Sometimes maybe one, what we call a pilot team. As consultants, we go in there and we say, okay, let's try this out and let's prove it out and show the success of that. And then based on the results, then we get more buy-in for more teams and for more teams. Sometimes that's the approach, but we do a little bit of training, right? To explain to them what Scrum is. First of all, what Agile is. It's a mindset. And we explain a little bit about the Scrum framework, if they have the appetite for that. And then about bringing cross-functional skills together, right? To form teams. And sometimes we ask, all right, do you have a project that you guys are willing to test out? A big project, sometimes that's the most complex, that you guys are willing to put a pilot team around that. That might be one option. Or do you have a product? It depends where they're at with their mindset. And so in the formation of that, you need buy-in. You need buy-in. You need buy-in from the leaders who own the resources, that have the skills to say, okay, we're going to bring all these folks together to create a cross-functional team. But then we said, okay, that's great, but guess what? You need a Scrum Master and you need a product owner. That's where that conversation comes in. And there have been times where we say, we don't recommend starting an Agile team if you don't have a dedicated Scrum Master and if you don't have a product owner. Sometimes we give that recommendation. That means you guys are not ready. And we have had those tough conversations with some leaders at times. It's a lot of conversations with the leaders. And then once you get that, then we go through the process, we train the teams and we launch them. We launch them from the coaching perspective on each of their roles and how to work together for the first time cross-functionally. You got testers over here, you got developers over here, you got analysts over here. They know each other. They've been working in some sort of a format, but they've mostly been in silos. Now they're part of the same team. So I hope that helped a little bit. I'm going to open it up to see if other folks have other perspectives on that. What do you think, Sharon?
Yes, that helped. I mean, the company that I was with, they did go through that process. The waterfall group that was gathered together to do the pilot of transformation from waterfall to agile was so large that it had to be divided into, say, 5 separate Scrum teams, where the Scrum, 5 individual Scrum Masters were assigned, and as well as the product owners. And everybody went through including upper management, the SAFe training. So upper management was on board, everybody was on board, to move in this pilot. So I was just basically the question was coming from the readings of saying, oh, the product owner is defined at once you have your product vision. So since I wasn't part of those conversations beforehand, I'm just wondering, it's like, oh, okay. Anybody who has like a smaller team, how, what is the process? And it sounds the same, kind of the same. So getting that executive buy-in by everybody going into SAFe training. Since ours was so huge, it was like, started off at scale as opposed to individual Scrum teams for a small product. Since our product was so huge, it took 5, 6 Scrum teams at 8 to 9 people on a Scrum team.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any feedback for sharing? Any other scenarios or ways that you guys have done that?
Mine was organic. I started off with 2 people. I had a back-end developer and I had a strategic architect. In that they could do most everything, soup to nuts. Now I have 8 people and a full development team in India. And it was really fulfilling the need as the need arose, because I was limited by dollars. I was limited by what I could bring on in the team. I asked the team, what's the biggest pain point? So it went from front-end developer to back-end developer to AWS architect, back over to now we've fixed that choke point. Let's go over to this choke point. And it was just a matter of bouncing around as the team grew out for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? I mean, we've had some organizations on the business side that they've put together these cross-functional teams for specific things. We've also done that, but they're not fully allocated. They also have their day jobs. They're coming together for the first time to do something very specific, and they are using Agile and they're practicing and they're experimenting with it. That's another way, and they're getting some wins. And then if they do super good, then they're like, oh, okay, maybe we want to do this some more, so there's different approaches to that. I hope that helped, Sharon.
It does. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, what's the next one, guys? Let's see, which ones do you guys want to talk about next?
It looks like the aha moments are probably the next.
Aha. Lelu, can you read that one?
Absolutely, I can read it.
What is it? Aha, Agile, Scrum?
Okay, let me put it like this.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
There we go.
Scrum moment. Okay, that's a nice one. I like that. Who wants to? Who put that question?
I did. I think it's just like a nice conversation starter, but also having a group like that, it's just nice to hear some nice stories from everyone, because I think the aha moments are the ones that are that can be really useful to everyone else around. So yeah, love to hear your aha moments, guys.
Awesome. So who wants to share an aha moment in your Agile Scrum moments with their Agile teams? Aha, let's see.
while everybody else is thinking about theirs, I will tell you an aha moment I had just a moment ago. I asked this question about what makes a good Scrum product owner, and everybody had good comments, and I had a lot of insights. But then I heard someone who is a product owner saying something, and I was like, that's a good product owner. And I knew, I couldn't tell you how at first, but then I said, wait a minute, I do know how. That's a good product owner because they care about the right stuff. Like, there's all these other factors that matter, availability, whatever. But I think that what I care about is somebody that cares about the right stuff. And that's, in some ways, it's overly generic, right? But it's kind of the core of the product role. So my aha moment. Now everybody else has to think of their real ones.
Thank you so much, Nathan. Let's see. Well, Stormy, did you have an aha moment? I thought she had her hand up. Did she have her hand up?
Yeah, maybe
I'm
Stormy
here,
was
sorry.
excited and she pressed exit.
I
again.
didn't. I'm here. Sorry. So yeah, one of the things, and I'm sure it's nothing new, but it was an aha moment, which now has become standard practice for me. It was something that I tried and didn't with my team. In the fact that I was, and this was pre-COVID, so I was co-located with my team. I was a part of my team. I worked with them every day. They were like, they were literally my second family, right? So, but what they were so separated from the user and the people that are actually using the software and all of the code they were writing to develop. So what I had decided to do was to bring them in. We were working with UX as well, or HCD, they called it. But what I decided to do was find opportunities to bring the team in some of those like 45-minute sessions, and have them just be a fly on the wall as the UX or HCD person was interacting with, for instance, two different maybe wireframes that were based off of the code that this team was working on, right? What they got to see was exactly was the thought process of the end user and how they worked through that. And it was so, I don't know, my heart just swelled. I could see the aha moments on my developers' faces when they were like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I never thought of that from a user perspective, that would have hung them up. Like, that would have been confusing to them. So one of the aha moments that I had was how beneficial it is to take the opportunity, if you have it, to engage your development team. And this obviously is specific to software development, but maybe not just software development, but engage your team when possible, and you know, consistently. And this is not like every week, but maybe once a month or whatever, and get them engaged in the user experience. It creates empathy, and it helps those light bulbs go off where they're going, I get it. I get why this would be confusing for an end user and why they like this other thing better. So that was a big aha moment, and it's something that I ended up integrating into my practice, working with every development team that I've worked with since.
Can I ask a question on that? Did you
Absolutely.
Did you follow that up with, like, how did you scope? If I let people come to the development team, I call them outsiders, come into the development team, they will then start, it's like a gates open, and they will just start calling or texting or chatting or doing whatever and distracting the team. How did you tone that down, or how did you be on purpose about that?
So in these cases, well, I'm typically, as a product owner, I'm working directly with end users. So literally, I mean, I'm in healthcare software development. So these would literally be the nurses or the doctors who are utilizing this software. Typically, we were not going on site. This was being done over, actually not typically, it was always done over some type of a Zoom meeting. And they would just be, because we were co-located, they would be in the room while we were, and I was actually maybe facilitating the meeting, because these were users that I had developed relationships with, but facilitating some of the meetings, for instance, between our user experience team. But beyond that, I would sit back and I was also watching along with my team, right, to see how these people responded. So it wasn't, they were interacting with the user design, with the user experience team or the user experience person from the UX team, while we all actually had the opportunity to just watch that. So there wasn't any, there wasn't that opportunity for kind of distraction or, and to be very honest, in my experience, the development team was enthralled. They were like, oh, like they were so engaged and going and realizing there were these light bulbs going off, these aha moments for them as they watched the user work through some of these wireframes and going like, you know, oh, wow, that they didn't understand that at all. That didn't work. Right. And they understood why, because the user at this point had been working with myself and user experience. And so, you know, kind of understood how to talk through that process and talk through their thought process as they were doing it. So did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you for that, because it's just kind of help me frame that up.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Do we have time? I think we have like a couple of minutes. I think we have time for one more. What other one do you guys want to choose from the list? Let's see, Nelu, if you can backtrack a little bit. One more. Which one?
I like to hear some people's favorite tools. I like to know what they like to use.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Let's do that one. Are you talking about remote tools?
Just what tools for your teams? What tools do you use to keep your track, your Kanban? What's your favorite? You know, I know Jira is like a thorn in a lot of people's sides. It's a necessary evil, but what are other things that people use?
Okay. Let's see, what else are you guys using out there?
PowerPoint. Just kidding. I actually have run a Scrum board on PowerPoint, and I'm kind of proud of it because it was an innovation in a very unusual situation, but it worked.
Nice.
So
I really like Trello.
Trello's good. Trello's good. It's easy. Miro, we've been using a lot.
Miro, I use a lot of Miro too. For my retro, I usually make use of Miro, and the team makes use of Azure DevOps board.
That's a good one. Jamboards we use a lot. We use a lot for exercises, for retrospectives, for prioritization and voting. But lately we've been using Miro because it allows for bigger spaces and design. What else you guys got out there?
I just got introduced to one called Ideaboards.
Yep.
Then I got introduced to, there's this website this link that I got introduced to that could help you actually with icebreakers. All you need to do is just click on next and it shows you a new icebreaker question.
Nice. There's also a lot of great retrospective techniques and exercises out there. And for AJ, so, you know, with your retro question, there's a lot of great fun ways to do retrospective. Go out there and Google, there's a ton of them. Look for retrospective activities. Go ahead, Victoria.
Oh, sorry, wasn't there like a website or I think there was, I found it. Like I've never used that, but I came across that one, that RetroMod thingy that it just populates like from a base, like a nice topic or like a theme for your retrospective. I think that's how it works. So haven't tried that one yet though, but sounds like a nice one.
Thank you. Thank you for putting it in the chat. It's a good one. What else, guys? There's a ton of online icebreakers that actually have PowerPoints that you can download for games that they have to guess different things, and you can literally download them as well.
Well, like
I have used.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. My apologies.
You're good.
So I was going to say Trello was mentioned, but we use Jira because we have to use Jira, right? And it's a flip-roaring mess. I don't even know if that's a word, but I just made it up. But it is the same, it's the same thing Jira is everywhere. It's just a mess. But it is what we use, right? But what I have used Trello for is for my personal board, because I'm working in, it's a way for me to integrate all of, particularly in the remote environment we're working with. So I don't just work.
No, Stormy.
Oh, she's getting disconnected.
Okay, well, we'll wait till she comes back.
See, when I say bless her heart here, I'm really feeling sorry for her.
Let's not be mean about it.
Oh no, you can bless my heart. You can bless my heart. It's okay.
I'm just thinking I'm
Did you
sitting here
hear
with
me?
fiber and
I love that.
there you are.
Who introduced that today? Sorry, who was that? I need to personally thank that person. That's
Nathan. That was Nathan.
That was yeah.
That was
I
You
didn't raise
started
the
it.
topic though. Somebody else.
You
did.
started it. It's gonna stay with me. It's gonna be my
Can you
new
hear me now?
Yeah.
So what I was going to say was, it was that I used Trello to try to integrate all of those just disparate areas where I have things coming and being stored in so many different areas. So I use my Trello board personally. So not necessarily for my team. And then of course things need to be documented in Teams, but it's a way that I have found to integrate a lot of different disparate areas of information and help me to prioritize how those, how to pull in those or where to find those pieces of information. But I have a question. One of the things that there's a lot of options out there for instance, storyboarding in the virtual space. What I was wondering, I have had a really difficult time transitioning to storyboarding in the electronic space, and apologies for that, but I just am stuck in whiteboard, sticky board, but does anybody know of any almost like use cases or examples that you could go through? So give you a scenario and walk you through it. So, so that you can get that full example of how that actually lays out from top to bottom, from the point of vision to, features and epics or epics and features, however you do that, and then breaking it out into stories. Does anybody have that? That literally lays it out as an example or can walk you through it. And that may sound a little ignorant on my part, but I'm having a really hard time kind of adjusting to that.
So are you talking about like going from a roadmap item to a backlog item, like breaking down a high level desire to an actionable kind of thing you could put in your sprint board, or am I misunderstanding you?
So I think what I'm looking for is a way, almost practice. So some practice or use cases that will help me to get more comfortable with using those those online whiteboard, Miro, there's so many of them that I absolutely need to use. And I'm fumbling through, but feeling really inept at it.
So this is what we're going to do. I mean, that's a great topic for, guess what? The next meetup. Okay. Online tools, because we are running late and we want to make sure we time box a lot of the stuff that we're doing.